The French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin has tweeted that a firefighter has died in Paris. He was trying to put out vehicles that were on fire in a parking garage. It is not yet clear whether the blaze was connected to the rioting that followed the fatal shooting of a teenager by police last week. The riots calmed considerably from Sunday into Monday, but again, 150 people were arrested. 45,000 police officers have been deployed across France to try and contain the violence. Today, French President Emmanuel Macron will report to top lawmakers on the unrest. DW correspondent Lisa Lewis is reporting for us from Paris. She joins us now from one of its town hall, that of the 18th arrondissement. Lisa, what's the mood there right now?
Well, there's a demonstration, a gathering happening right behind me. As you can see, a few people have gathered as there has been an appeal to people to gather in front of town halls at midday today here in France to show their support for the mayor who has been attacked, whose house has been attacked over the weekend. And you know the story, his house was rammed with a car and satellite, and his wife and two children had to flee from these rioters. So these people here have turned out to support, to show their support. I talked to some of them just a few moments ago, and they said it's really not acceptable that things like that are happening, and we just want this violence to stop right now.
Now, just coming in, we hear the third passenger who was in the car with Nahel is currently being questioned by police. What more do you know?
Well, we know that he was there on Tuesday when Nahel, the 17-year-old, was killed by a police officer when he was controlled by police, and then he fled. He ran away from the police over the past few days. He has been talking to several French media, telling them his side of the story of what had happened that Tuesday, and now he's talking to the police as a witness of the scene. So it seems that he's not really being accused of anything, but he's just there to tell his version of events.
Now, according to the Interior Minister, a firefighter has died. Is his death related to the protests? Do we know that?
Well, we're hearing from the firefighters themselves that apparently that there is no link between the riots and this incident. This happens from time to time, unfortunately, and apparently it's just an unrelated event. Monsieur Darmanin, the Interior Minister, also spoke on French television today, and he said that the situation is about to calm down, that the government is, taking control of the situation, that most of the rioters are really very young, 13, 17 years old. And he also said that once the situation had calmed down, the government really needed to look into what to do next, how to re-establish the link between the government, between the Republic, the values of France, and these suburbs where the riots are taking place.
DW correspondent Lisa Lewis, they're reporting from Paris. Thank you very much, Lisa. And for a closer look at the situation in France, I'm now joined by Rokhaya Diallo in Paris. She's a journalist and anti-racism activist. Now, the French police unions and the government have denied that racism is a fundamental problem in the police force in France. They say these are isolated cases. What do you say to that?
I say that it is exactly the problem. The problem is denial. Several institutions have been denouncing France for years. Human Rights Watch issued a statement in 2012. The UN just published also a statement just a couple of days ago to say that France has to deal with its profound issues of racism, especially in the police. Even the French Supreme Court sentenced the French state for racial profiling. The UN also wrote a letter to France in December 2022 to say that we have to deal with the public discourses which are racist, but also with the behaviors within the police. So the problem is that France has never answered or addressed those statements or court decisions, if not to dismiss them without never answering the point. How come that the police has been so many times condemned, sentenced internationally, domestically, without France acting to stop that?
Now, the government and police are denying there's a fundamental racism problem in the police. Just to illustrate this, do you know what the percentage of ethnic minority police officers in France is, and should there be more?
I think that's actually not the problem, because systemic racism doesn't operate at an individual level. It's something that operates at an institutional level. I don't know the percentage, but the figures I have that were issued by the Defender of Rights, which is a French institution that was created to fight discrimination, says that, so those figures say that if you are a young man and you are seen as Black or Arab, you are 20 times more likely to be checked by the police than if you're not. So those figures have existed for years, and no one has ever decided to act upon them. So that's the problem to me. We have so many figures, so many people have died, and nothing has been done to protect our children, to protect our younger generations from being policing very brutally, and even from sometimes from facing death.
Now, do you think, I mean, what is being reported, what we're seeing is rioting and violence. Do you think that is undermining the legitimate protest?
To me, the first problem is the fact that less than a week ago, a 17-year-old teenager died. It sparked outrage, anger. I think that there are many things happening now. Some people act out of despair. Of course, whenever there are uprisings, there are abuses. And I, of course, do not support the abuses, especially when they target elected officials. But the first problem is the death of Nael. And I'm sorry to say that, but if it wasn't for those uprisings, we would not be speaking today about Nael's death. And that's the problem.
Now, what action do you now want to see from the French government in response to Nael's killing?
The first action would be acknowledgement of the deep problem of police brutality and of racism within the police by the government. And the reform, actually, we need to change their practice. There is a law that was voted in 2017 that makes easier for the police force to use their firearms. And it's a problem because of that law, the numbers of people who have been shot while driving has been multiplied by 5 in 5 years. In 2022, 13% died being shot while driving. And in Germany, if we want to compare, it's only 1% in 10 years. So there is also a problem with the level of brutality and the fact that people have been shot in France more than ever within the last year, actually, the last years.
Rokhaya Diallo, journalist and activist there, talking to us from France. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.